I bring you tonight, my beloved, to a silence. Not the silence of an absence, the silence of a presence the chronicles barely had words for. The night I am taking you to is the night before the morning the man you have been honoring for 9 nights buried his last son with his own hands. The hands that buried that small body would, within hours, themselves be unburied. And the dust that received the infant in his small grave at Karbala would, by the next day, be the dust that received his father's body, lying open under the sun, unburied for 3 nights. But that morning is not yet. Tonight I take you to a woman. Sayyedah Zainab. Wait, no. Sayyedah Rabab. The wife of my forefather Husayn, peace and blessings be upon them both, daughter of Imru al-Qays, the son of Adi, of the tribe of Oz, the mother of Sukaina, who would later mourn her father's body in a way the chronicles preserved, and the mother of the suckling infant whose name I have come to give you tonight. I was not there, but I remember. I remember her because the chronicles preserve so little of her, and my forefather Husayn preserved so much. He wrote love poetry about her, my beloved, did you know? The master of witnesses, peace and blessings be upon him, wrote love poetry about his wife and his daughter. I swear by your life, I love a house in which reside Sukaina and Rabab. I love them both and would give all my wealth for them, and let no one admonish me for that. Sukaina, my beloved, stay with that name a moment. It is in your forefather's own poem, it was on his own tongue, and it is not the name most of you know her by. You call her Sakina, hear me. That is not the name her mother gave her, and it is not the name her father wrote. When she was born, her mother named her Amina, the trusting one, the one who is safe, and then her mother looked at the child in her arms and gave her a second name, Sukaina, from Sakina. The tranquility God sends down upon the hearts of the believers. Her mother made a diminutive, the way a mother makes a great word small enough to hold a child. A little stillness, a little peace. That was her name, Sukaina. Her father wrote it into a love poem. Her mother called it across a courtyard in Medina. And then the centuries came, the centuries that loved her. And the love of centuries cannot keep its hands still. It wore the name down the way a stone step is worn smooth by the feet of everyone who loves to climb it. It softened Sukaina into Sakina, until the daughter of the master of witnesses was being called by the very people who loved her most by a name her own mother never once spoke. It is not a lie, my beloved. I do not say it to reproach anyone. It is love, handling a name until its edges are worn away. But I keep watch from behind these veils over what was said and what was done. And tonight I give her back to you as her mother gave her to the world. Sukaina, the little tranquility of the house of Husayn. Remember her by the name she was given. Her father did. That is the man we are speaking of. That is the man who, on the morning of the 10th, would carry her infant son out toward the army that had besieged them, and would ask not for his own water, but for the child's. The chronicles called her a beautiful and intelligent woman, a poetess, a woman of great merit. That is what they preserve everything else. They preserve by listing without describing. I will describe what they listed. His name was Abdullah. He was named, listen to this, for the father of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, his family, and his righteous companions, my ancestor, the one whose son brought the Quran to the world. He was the son of my forefather Husayn and Sayyedah Rabab, peace and blessings be upon them both, the youngest of all his father's children, al-Radhi, the suckling, the one still nursing, the one who knew the smell of his mother before he knew the names of strangers, the one whose face had not yet seen any face but the faces of his father's family, the one who was, on that day in the desert in Iraq, 6 months old. The chronicles preserve him in their footnotes, my beloved Abdullah, the son of Husayn, the son of Ali, the son of Abi Talib, peace and blessings be upon them all. His mother was Rabab, the daughter of Imru al-Qays, that is the entry in the Irshad of al-Mufid in the Lohuf of Sayyid, the son of Tawus, in the Maqtal al-Talibin of Abu al-Faraj of the tribe of Quraysh, a line, 2 lines. The smallest entry in the smallest column of the chronicles. The smallest entry is the one no counterfeiter can ever steal. The Takfiri cannot claim him. The empire cannot pretend he was its martyr. The aesthete cannot make of his face a flag because there are no surviving images of his face. He did not choose, he could not choose, he was 6 months old. And yet, because he could not choose, because his witness is the witness of one who was incapable of being shaped by any system or any propaganda or any cause, he's a witness no system can co-opt. The criterion is in his very smallness. The master of witnesses, peace and blessings be upon him, would later say in his last sermon, and the words are preserved in the Lohuf: they have killed my companions, my friends, my household, and now only this infant remains. The infant remained until he too did not. Until he too did not. I bring you now to the afternoon of the 10th. The companions had fallen, my great-uncle Abbas had fallen at the river Ali al-Akbar. The resemblance of his great-grandfather had fallen on the field Qasim. My forefather Hassan's orphan son had been gathered in pieces. An and Muhammad, the sons of my aunt Zainab, had fallen with their cousins. Peace and blessings be upon them all. The 72 were a body of light scattered across a plain. And my forefather Husayn, peace and blessings be upon him, alone now in the heat, with the women of his family weeping inside the tents, and his small daughter Sukaina holding his clothes when he turned to leave, came to the doorway of the tent. And he said, "Oh, my sister Zainab, bring me my young son, that I may bid him farewell." There are 2 narrations of what happened next, my beloved. The chronicles preserve them both, and the Lohuf tells you both. The first narration, my aunt Zainab brought the child. My forefather Husayn lifted him to kiss him, and as he lifted the infant, an arrow released. The chronicles say, by Hermala, the son of Kahil of the tribe of Asad, may the mercy of God be distant from him, pierced the throat of the infant. The master of witnesses said to my aunt Zainab, "Hold him," and he gathered the child's blood in his palms. The second narration, the one Sayyid, the son of Tawus, says appears more reasonable. The Imam was so consumed by the battle that he would not have called for the child to bid him farewell mid-slaughter. Instead, my aunt Zainab brought the infant out herself, and she said to him, this child of yours has not had water for 3 days. Please ask water for him to quench his thirst. And my forefather Husayn took the infant in his arms, and he turned to face the army that had blockaded his family for 10 days, and he raised his voice and he said, and these are the words preserved in the Lohuf, the words from the throat of the master of witnesses in the heat of an Iraqi noon, with his last living son held against his chest. O people, you have killed my companions, my friends, my household. And now only this infant remains who is wailing for water. Give him some water to quench his thirst. He spoke to them, to the men with bows. He spoke to them as though they were still men. My beloved, I do not know how to tell you what happened next. I know what the chronicles say, I know what the Lohuf preserves, and what the Maqtal al-Taladiyan preserves. I know that there is a difference of opinion in the chronicles about who released the arrow. Some say it was Harmala, the son of Kahil of the tribe of Asad. Some say it was Aqba, the son of Bashar. I know that when the arrow was released, while my forefather Husayn was still speaking, while the request for water was still on his lips, the arrow pierced the throat of the child. I know what the chroniclers wrote. But to know what happened, and to be able to tell you what happened, are not the same thing. I will tell you only what is written. The arrow was released, the infant's throat was pierced, the body of the child became still in his father's arms. And the man holding him, the man who had raised his voice to ask water for the child, became in that instant a father holding the small body of his last son in the middle of an army that had murdered the rest of his sons. He did not weep loudly, the chronicles say. He did not address the army again. He turned and he went back toward the tents. I was not there, but I remember. A note from the chronicles, my beloved, about Harmala and about the chain of justice. The witness was too small to call for himself. In the year 66 of the Hijri, 6 years after Karbala, in the city of Kufa, the very city whose people had broken their promise to my forefather Muslim, the son of Aqil, peace and blessings be upon him, the avenger of the household of the Prophet, rose al-Maqtal of the tribe of Thaqif, may God be pleased with him. And among those al-Maqtal took into his hands was Harmala. The chronicles preserve what al-Maqtal said when Harmala was brought before him. Sayyid, the son of Tawus, has it in the Lohuf. Al-Maqtal wept, and he said, "Woe unto you, was all this felony not enough that you killed even this little babe in arms? O enemy of God, did you not know that he was one of the sons of the prophets?" The chronicles preserve what al-Maqtal did next. He ordered Harmala's hand and his feet to be cut off. Then he ordered a fire to be lit. Then he ordered an iron rod to be heated until it turned red, and then white. And then the burning rod was placed against the neck of Harmala, until his neck began to boil. The man who released the arrow against the throat of a 6-month-old infant, the throat that had not yet learned to speak, the chain held what he had earned. That is what we mean, my beloved, by the distance of God's mercy, the long, eternal, unappealable distance. It came to Harmala in the city of Kufa, 6 years after the day, by the hand of a man who had loved my great-grandfather and my great-uncle and my forefather Husayn. blessings be upon them all, more than he loved his own life. The witness is small, the avenger is patient, the chain holds. But before the avenger came, my beloved, before, the father did something the chronicles preserve and that no human father had done in this way. Listen to what is preserved in the Luhuf, in the words of my own forefather, the fifth in the line, the Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, peace and blessings be upon him. Not a single drop of that blood fell back to the ground. Not a single drop. The chronicles say that my forefather Husayn gathered the blood of the infant in his palms as the body of the child became still against his chest, and that he raised his hands toward the sky, and that he flung the blood upward, and that he said, "Whatever has befallen me, my Lord, is easy to bear because it is witnessed by you." That blood, my beloved, did not fall back, the earth did not absorb it, the heavens received it. I cannot explain what this means in the language of the natural world. The chronicles do not try to explain it either. They preserve it because the fifth Imam preserved it. And the fifth Imam preserved it because what he was telling his students was that the sky itself on that day made an exception. The cosmic order made an exception. The blood of the smallest member of the household, the one who had not yet spoken a word, the one who had not yet learned the names of his cousins, the one who knew only the smell of his mother, was received by the heavens on a Tuesday afternoon in October of the year 680 on a plain in Iraq, while his father held what was left of his small body. And the sky, my beloved, holds it still. And then, my beloved, then the man who had thrown the blood towards the sky did what every father in the desert does for the body of his small child. He turned from the army. He walked with the body in his arms back toward the tents he had brought from Medina. He did not enter the tents. The mother of the child was inside. The chronicles do not say whether she heard him pass. What the reliable chronicles preserve is this: he buried the child himself with his own hands at Karbala. He scratched a small grave in the dust, he laid the body in it, he covered it with earth. He did this alone, my beloved. His brother was already dead, his son Ali al-Akbar was already dead, the 72 were already dead. The mother of the child could not come to him, she was in the tents. The aunt of the child, my aunt Zainab, had her own grief to carry and her own daughters to hold. The master of witnesses, peace and blessings be upon him, the heir of every prophet who had come before him, the man who would, within hours, be lying himself unburied for 3 nights, buried his last son alone. And then he stood, my beloved. And then he walked back toward the field. But the woman, my beloved, the woman. What happened to the woman? The captives were taken, my aunt Zainab leading them, my forefather Ali, the son of Husayn, peace and blessings be upon him, the only surviving son of my forefather Husayn, and the women and children of the household who had not been killed. taken from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Damascus, from Damascus eventually back to Medina. And among them, my beloved, was the woman Sayyedah Rabab, the mother of the child. The chronicles preserve what she did when she returned to Medina. She went to her father-in-law's grave, the grave of my great-grandfather, the commander of the faithful, peace and blessings be upon him. And she went to the grave of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, his family and his righteous companions. And she went to the city she had walked the streets of as a young bride, and she found that Yazid's governor in Medina had demolished her house. The house in which the master of witnesses had written his love poetry, that house, I love a house, in which reside Sayyedah and Rabab, that house, Yazid's governor put it to the ground. She made no protest, the chronicles say. She walked instead back toward Karbala. And she sat at the grave of my forefather Husayn, the grave that was, by then, beginning to be visited by the mourners and the loyal. The grave that was beginning to become what we now know as the haram of the master of martyrs. And she did not move. The chronicles say it plainly, my beloved. They say it in one phrase that is preserved across many sources. And Ray Shari compiles them all in his chronicles of the martyrdom of Imam Husayn. She did not repose under a roof for 1 year. A year, my beloved, 365 days approximately through the Iraqi summer, when the dust storms came, through the Iraqi winter when the rains came, through the cold nights and the burning days. She did not repose under a roof. She was at the grave. A number of nobles came to her in that year. Many proposals of marriage. The widows of the household of the Prophet were noble women. Their hands were sought, her hand was sought, and she refused them all. The phrase she gave the chroniclers, the phrase preserved across the early sources: I would never take another father-in-law after the messenger of God. She had been the daughter-in-law of the Prophet through her husband. She would not take another. There was no man left in this world who could be to her what the man under the dust she sat next to had been. She was a poetess, the chronicles say, and she sang elegies bewailing Husayn. One of those elegies is preserved verbatim, my beloved, in the Kitab al-Aghani of Abu al-Faraj of the tribe of Quraysh, the great Abbasid era compiler of Arabic poetry, who died in the year of the Hijri 356, more than 2 centuries after Karbala. Listen to it. These are her words, the words of the woman who sat at the grave for a year. The words of the wife of the master of witnesses, peace and blessings be upon him. The one who was a beacon that everyone relied on for illumination was slain in Karbala and left unburied. O grandson of the Prophet, may God reward you with goodness on our behalf, and may your scales of actions not be light. For me, you were like an unshakable mountain in which I found protection, and you looked after us with mercy and religious conviction. Who is there now for the orphans, and who is there for the destitute, who will give shelter to the impoverished and make them needless? I swear by God, I shall not desire to have another husband after you, until I am covered between the sand and the earth. An unshakable mountain, like a mountain, like a mountain. My beloved, Listen. In our own century, in the year 1991 of the Common Era, a young Iranian named Mohsen Hojaji, peace and blessings be upon him, was born in Najafabad. In the year 2012, he married Zahra Abbasi at a cultural exhibition during Sacred Defense Week. In the year 2017, he was beheaded by takfiris at the Tanf border crossing in Syria. And his wife, looking at the photograph the world had seen of his calm face, said, in her Persian, "He is like a mountain, steadfast." 2 wives, my beloved, 1387 years apart, finding the same word for the same beloved. The mountain, the man who held. The chronicles say that Sayyedah Rabab, peace and blessings be upon her, at the end of that year, sometime in the early months of 62 of the Hijri, by the reckoning of the chroniclers, fell ill and died of terrible sorrows. She did not repose under a roof for 1 year. And so, my beloved, the corrective night closes here. Tonight my speaker has named in the sermon 4 counterfeits walked out into our century. The political, the ritual, the cultural, the imperial. He has given you 3 tests: loyalty above whom, consistency with what law, chosen by what consciousness. The witness no counterfeiter can ever steal is the witness whose body is too small for the system to reach. The takfiri cannot claim Ali al-Asghar, because the takfiri's claim is to a chosen martyrdom, and the infant chose nothing. The empire cannot claim him, because the empire's claim requires a flag the dying recognized, and the infant recognized only his mother's smell. The aesthete cannot claim him, because there is no photograph of him, no aesthetic was ever made of his face. The borrowed iconography preacher cannot claim him, because Karbala does not lend his image to anyone. He is small. He is too small. He is small, and he is therefore the criterion. And his mother, the woman who sat at the grave for a year, who refused the nobles, who refused the roof, who composed the elegy that names her husband as the unshakable mountain. She is the binding of every silent witness across the centuries. She is the form the love takes when the witness has fallen, and the witness after must remain. In our own century, my beloved, Zahra Abbasi waits like Sayyedah Rabab waited. The young son Ali Hojaji asks the question every child of every martyr has asked. Papa, why did you go? It lives in the elegiac tradition of every Shaheed family across our communities. It is the question Cain heard from God in the field. It is the question we are asked every day we wake. I was not there, but I remember. I remember the woman who would not sit on cushions. I remember the man who buried his son alone. I remember the small body in the desert. I remember the sky that caught the blood. And tomorrow night, my beloved, the man who held the small body of his son in his arms turns to face the army that has just murdered the last of his children. He returns to the field. He fights as a man fights when he has nothing left to lose, because he has already lost everything that could be lost. And at noon on the 10th, the man who buried his son falls against the chest of his horse and is taken from us. The hands that scratch the small grave for the infant lie unburied for 3 nights themselves. The body that wrapped the small body for the desert lies open under the sun. The chain holds, my beloved. The witness, after the witness, after the witness holds. And in our own century, the chain still holds. Shaheed Mohsin Hojaji, peace and blessings be upon him, the Hujjat-e Khoda. And Sayyid Abbas al-Musawi, Haj Imad Mughniye, Haj Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, Haj Qasim Soleimani, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei, may God rest their pure souls. And the wider defenders of the holy shrines, the children of Minab, the Iranian young men, the Afghan Fatimiyun, the Pakistani Zainabiyun, the Iraqi and Lebanese and Syrian, the medics in Gaza, the young men and young women of every place where a young father has gone forward and not returned. Peace and blessings be upon them all. And Imam Sayyid Mujtaba Khamenei, may God protect him. The new Wali al-Faqih, the son who has taken his father's place at the head of the worship. To him, my beloved, peace, preserve him, O God, until the appointed hour. And to me, the hidden Imam, may our Lord hasten my return, my beloved. Pray ardently for my return. Where is your brother? The small infant asks his father. The mother who would not move from the grave asked the dust. Cain heard God ask him in the field. The chain holds. We will return to it tomorrow at noon.